Shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Waharakah Kadash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Now, Revelation 11 and 8 says this, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Now that represents Americas because one, it's Egypt in the terms of captivity for the Israelites, right? And two, it's Sodom because of its value system and its moral system. It's rife with um, child abuse, debauchery, sexual depravity, degeneration, just ugh, yeah, both overt and covert, open in the streets and behind closed doors, just absolutely disgusting, right? It in fact, it's the number one purveyor of all different forms of pornography in the world that's being produced out of America. It's just an insane place, right? Just look at their celebrities. Ugh. But at the same time, it's supposed to be this Christian country with these morals and values, and the president is sworn in on the Bible, and they like to talk about God. This is the hypocrisy, right? And this is where you get people like Vocab Malone. They want to stand up on this high horse. Oh, you Hebrew Israelites, you're evil, you're wicked. Da, 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 da. They want to stand up on this moral high horse because of this idea that they have superior values when they're really the devil. And the proof of that is in the country that you created. You have created a country where LGBT is a haven for LGBT. Like, people who are LGBT from around the world seek to go to America because they perceive it, and it is a haven for them. It's a paradise. It's a place where they will be protected. They don't want to go Uganda. You know what I'm saying? There's places in the world where you're able to, if you're, hold on. So there's something called LGBT asylum seekers. So basically, usually when you're an asylum seeker, let's say like the country you're from, you're part of a political group that's being persecuted and killed or whatever the case may be. You can flee to Britain or France and whatever and put in for asylum, and they'll let you stay in the country because your life is in danger in the country you come from. In the West, that also works if you're LGBT. So if you're LGBT and the country you come from, they're onto your case. Basically, these lot will become a haven for you. So you got the rainbow migration, which is a UK one. Let me see if I can find an American one. Right. So yeah, it's the same thing. So if you're a Bati boy and true say from you done, your tech man Bati, yeah, then the country you come from, some countries that's extremely frowned upon with extreme prejudice, right? You could make your way into America even illegally, and you can claim asylum because you're being prosecuted for that in the country you're from. Maybe the country doesn't have LGBT rights. Okay, so it's a safe haven for this form of activity. Now, if these people were truly Christian, well, we know that Paul, I mean, it's very difficult to be more Christian than Paul, right? You know what I'm saying? I think it would be very difficult for a person to say, "Well, I'm more Christian than Paul." So therefore, Paul's views kind of represent being Christian, right? I mean, he was there with Yahushai, directly taught by Yahushai. The majority of the Gospels written by him, in terms of the writings. I mean, yeah, let's run with what Paul says, right? Now, we can see that Paul didn't have a viewpoint which was um welcoming to LGBT. Romans 1 and 25. who change the truth of God into a lie and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. So he says it's a vile affection. For even the women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves the recompense of their error, which was meat. Right? And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do things which are not convenient, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God. Because if you're LGBT, you hate God. All you got to do is go to one of these LGBT rallies and they literally burning Bibles and all sorts because they know the Bible is totally against them. So here it is. We got a Christian country where the president is swearing on the Bible and talking about God and going to church and all this stuff. Yet they are providing rights and protection and a safe haven for people who are living a lifestyle that the Bible is totally against and should be illegal. But, you know, vocab don't have a problem with that. Of course he don't. Inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God, right, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. Yeah, they encourage it. Oh, yeah, have a parade, celebrate it, put it all over the TV. They promote it. They you know, they proliferating it mainly through child abuse. You know, it's a cycle of child abuse. When you really break it down, one of the core issues in this man's society, it goes back to child trauma and child abuse. It's a vicious cycle. A lot of these people that are LGBT were abused by LGBT when they were children, and it's a vicious cycle because the abusers grow up to become abusers themselves. A lot of these kids that are transgender have been victims of abuse and have been transgenderized for the purpose of abuse too. A lot of this surrounds ritual child sexual abuse and child sexual abuse in general, and that's also connected to the drugs and the heroin, and it's a sick society, absolutely sick. And you see what was happening with the Catholic Church the other day. That a big root of all this wickedness goes back to the suffering of the children. But anyway, let's get Romans 3. What did Paul say? Right, Romans 3 and 30 says, seeing it is one God, which shall justify the circumcision by faith and the uncircumcision through faith. The circumcision and the uncircumcision are both Israelites. You had Israelites that were of the circumcision, meaning they kept the culture, the laws, statutes, commandments. They were under that. And then you had the Israelites that were scattered among the nations who were uncircumcised, right? Both have to be delivered through faith because both are under sin, right? Circumcision by faith and the uncircumcision through faith. Do we then make void the law through faith? So should the law of the Lord be void through faith? God forbid, yea, we establish the law. Establish. So a Christian should strive to establish the law. Now, like I said, does that mean if your wife commits adultery on you, you should just go and kill her? Well, maybe not so, because we're under grace. But it's definitely wrong. It's definitely illegal. Adultery should be illegal. This is what I'm saying. Adultery should be illegal. There should be some form of punishment. Because you might say, okay, you don't want to put the penalty of death, but there should be a punishment. Since there's a punishment for possessing weed, why is there not a punishment for adultery? You ever ask yourself that? Why is adultery not a punishment? Why don't you serve time for that, hard labor for that? Huh? It's interesting, right? Because these are laws in the Bible, right? So why is they not, are they not incorporated into the laws of a Christian nature? Because the scripture says establish the law, right? So you might not want to exert judgment to the fullest, but you would at least loosely try and do the thing right. Mm-hmm. Well, we know why. There we go. Establish.
Strong's G 2476. Histemi. Histemi.
Right, it says to cause, to make, to stand, to place, to put, to make firm, fix, establish. There we go. To establish a thing, cause it to stand, to uphold or sustain the authority or force of anything. All right. So, I mean, what else do we need to read? Establish the law. All right. So, if America is a Christian country, then their law system and their values should represent the law, which would mean that LGBTQ plus whatever the hell else, right, according to the law, should be a no-no, should be illegal. It should not be winked at, should not be accepted, it should not be protected, because there's no protection for it under the law. All right, let's get, what is it? Leviticus 20, is it 23 or 22? Or is it Deuteronomy 18? A couple scriptures. No, it's not Deuteronomy 18. It might be Leviticus 18. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Yeah. So all you got to do is go to Leviticus the 18th chapter, and it tells you everything that should be illegal. Right? Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe incest is illegal, right? So why are the rest of them? Why did you stop there? Leviticus 18. And this is funny because it says after the doings of the land of Egypt, which America is known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt. Because Egypt was also known for the freaky. In fact, right, when you go into history, the Romans, because Rome wasn't always totally given onto debauchery and craziness. That's why when they originally established Rome had a strict rules and morals in terms of they had strict rules and morals that degraded over time down to the time of Augustus. And then Augustus, when you go into the history, tried to return Rome back to the strict morals and values it had before. But he was even undermined by his daughter. And you can go into the history. His daughter was like proper promiscuous, like committing adultery. Her thing was she would get pregnant for her husband, and so while she was pregnant for her husband, it would allow her to commit as much adultery as she want, because she wouldn't get pregnant for the person she's committing adultery with. And all this time Augustus was trying to cut all that out of Rome. He was trying to return Rome back to some form of morals in order to save the empire. Because when your morals are degraded, it's not too long before your kingdom falls. That's just how the thing go. And there was a resurgence in Rome during the time of Augustus. However, his daughter undermined him, and there was back then the political commentators were like poets. And there was a poet that kept writing about his daughter and exposing the things that his daughter was doing. And in the end, he had to vanquish both the poet and his daughter to make an example out of them. So here you are. And that's why you got to learn a bit of history. And that's what Vocab Malone don't like. He don't like that through this Hebrew Israelite thing, right, which is the truth, the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, we're becoming better men, more well-rounded men, using our intelligence and our knowledge and our wisdom and our understanding for good purposes. Like the normal Jake wouldn't know this type of history, wouldn't understand this, especially Jake in the church. But hey, we know these things. So Julia, so he must have named it after Julius, uh, the house of Julii. Um, well, that would have been his house as well, because I think he was adopted, wasn't he? So he was of the house of Julii as well. Julia was the Roman Emperor Augustus' only child, whose scandalous behavior eventually caused him to exile her, right? And he didn't just exile her, he exiled the poet that was exiled, who was constantly exposing her bullshit. But you could go look all that up. Okay, so there was a time when Rome wasn't as, you know, into the madness, right? Where do you think the Romans used to go? The Romans used to go to Egypt. So they used to go on so-called holiday to Egypt to do madness. Kind of like how it is now. Like you got the Ibifas, these Greek islands that people go to now to just do madness, right? Well, that's what Egypt was. Egypt was a place where they could go there and just fulfill all their heart's desires and their lusts. All right, so that's quite interesting because that's what's happening in Egypt. Right, you see there in the imperial era, Egypt was one of the most popular destinations for Roman tourists. And then, when you go dig deeper, you find out, yeah, because in Egypt, they were doing madness. All right, which is interesting. Right, so the scripture said, after the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do, and after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Ye shall do my judgments and keep mine ordinances to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. And then it goes into, all the various forms of incest and all that kind of stuff, and, retete, batiman thing. Basically, the LGBT thing. The whole LGBT thing is a violation of the law. All right? So I say all that to bring it to this. You got right now this perceived clash, perceived division. So the Democrats, they're just Satanists and pedophiles, and as if the Republicans are not Satanists and pedophiles. Because QAnon, yeah, and all of a sudden it's just the Democrats. They represent evil. That's the Democrats. That's the perception that the media wants the Republicans to think. Yeah, these people, and they gaslight them. These people are Satanists, blah blah blah, as if Trump and them man are not Satanists. Come on, let's. But this is the psyop, right? So that they represent transgenderism, and so they have these people say and do all kind of crazy shit, yeah. And then so the Republicans look like, the perception is they're against LGBT rights. But no, they're not. When you look at it in reality, right? Trump already had 4 years. He didn't do nothing to outlaw. He didn't sign no executive order to outlaw. No, he is pro LGBT. They're both pro LGBT. They just have a perception that there's a difference. So let's read this. Let's read this, right? Because if Trump was the Messiah, he would just come out and say, listen, LGBTQ is going to be illegal. Point blank, period. It's going to be illegal. It's not right in the sight of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. It is going to be, if I get into power, you vote me into power, it is going to be illegal. Executive order, illegal. Done. Done. No more in the media, no more, it's gone. No, but that's how they're acting like Trump is going on. But he's not. Trump's cool with the LGBT. He's part of them. He's a Satanist. It says polls show that LGBT rights will likely factor into most Americans' pick for president this November as they choose between former Republican President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris, like two demons, right? The March survey by independent, which whatever this survey says, listen, we know how the thing go already. It's manufactured perception, but found that 68% of voters will take LGBT rights into their consideration at the poll. Fully 30% stated that they would vote only for a candidate who shares their views on the issue. It is no coincidence then that the LGBT rights issue features prominently in party platforms. And so what the perception is that the Republicans hate the gays, and just like the abortion thing, the perception is that Donald Trump is going to ban abortions and Kamala Harris is gonna free abortions for everybody, yay, when the actual truth is neither of them are gonna ban it, and neither, it's just gonna go on the same as it is now, like, you know what I mean? But they have to manage the perception. All right. The Republican Party electoral promise include cutting existing federal funding for gender affirming care. So they're making a promise that they're going to cut funding for gender affirming care. They didn't say they're going to make gender affirming care illegal. Do you see the difference there? Do you see the difference? If I am against something, I'm not going to cut the funding. I'm going to make it illegal. It will not happen anymore. It cannot happen anymore. But that's not what they're doing. They're saying they're going to cut funding, which you could cut funding in one place and then put the funding back in another place. This is all to manage a perception. And restricting transgender students' participation in sports, which again, whether they can play sports or not is not the issue. The fact is that they exist. But again, this is managing perception so that you can paint one as good and one as bad when they're both bad. They're both evil. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party platform proposes to outlaw discrimination against LGBTQ people, that's already, I don't know, that's already a case. So it's already outlawed, including passing the Equality Act, which would prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity in housing, healthcare, and public accommodations. As a legal scholar who has written extensively on the history of LGBT rights, I have seen that the clearest indication of how politicians will act once in office is not what they promise on the campaign trail, instead it's what they have done in the past. And let's examine their records. Right? Trump restricted some LGBTQ rights. Trump and his running mate, U.S. Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, are both relatively new to politics, so their records on LGBTQ rights are slim. Trump enacted 2 policies restricting LGBTQ rights early in his one term in office. And I remember when Trump and Hillary were going against each other, I actually did a video where I went to both their campaign sites and they were showing both their promises to the LGBT community. But they were still painting Trump as anti-LGBTQ. But no, if you go on his website, he was pro-LGBTQ. So it's all BS, right? They're both Sodom. And that's why I said America's spiritual Sodom and Egypt. The first was his 2007 executive order promoting free speech and religious liberty, which reinforced the federal law must respect conscientious-based objections to comply with the First Amendment. This order indirectly imperiled LGBTQ rights because many LGBTQ rights battles are fought over whether conservative Christian businesses run afoul of anti-discrimination laws when they refuse to serve same-sex couples. So again, he's not really making it illegal. He was just like, okay, well, if a Christian cake shop don't want to make a fucking if they don't want to make a cake for a gay wedding, they don't have to. Okay, whatever. That's neither here nor there, is it? That's still far from making the gay marriage itself illegal. Do you understand? A few moments later, Trump banned transgender individuals from serving in the U.S. Armed Forces. He ultimately revoked the directive, implementing instead a new policy that allowed existing transgender soldiers to remain in the military, but barred a new transgender recruit from enlisting. Again, this is nothing. Vance has opposed trans rights. Vance, again, so he's making it about trans rights. What about the lesbians and the gays? And no, that's already established, so we don't really need to make that into a thing. Vance, a one-term senator, has accrued a record of trying to, not actually, trying to roll back the rights of transgender Americans during the short term in the public office. Between 2023 and 2024, Vance introduced or sponsored 5 bills opposing trans rights, which we all know. A lot of times these men bring through and sponsor bills that's already been agreed upon that are going to fail so they could position themselves as a certain particular character. This is why you cannot believe what you see with these people, because a lot of this stuff is calculated, staged events to manage your perception and your reality. This guy Vance is probably one of them LGBT dons. All right, one seeks to restrict gender-affirming care for minors by imposing criminal sanctions on doctors who perform such surgeries. Another aims to do the same by exposing physicians to civil liability for either prescribing gender-affirming hormones or performing surgeries. All right. Another Vance bill would expand healthcare workers' ability to make conscience-based objections to transgender rights. Blah blah blah. So, but yeah, this is all neither here nor there. But you're not making anything illegal, really, right? You're not saying, well, this is what's in the scriptures, so it's illegal. And then we don't need to go into Harris, because we know that everything Harris does is going to be that her part of the character is going to look nice. Oh well, actually, look, it said. So she opposed 2 prisoners' requests for urgent gender affirmation. So it's all about some transgender, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And this guy, whatever. Starkly different record. So if elected, Trump has promised to cut federal funds for public schools that push gender ideology and keep men out of women's sports. Harris pledges to defend the freedom to love who you love openly with pride. This is bullshit. Neither of these people are against LGBT. Can't you see? This is just bullshit. Neither of them is saying, look, this is illegal and that is a legal executive order. Let me see if they mention the executive order. Yeah, so that's the point. What's the point? Yeah, so when you really look at it, it's bullshit. It's bullshit, man. All right? Now let's look at the abortion thing. Oh, Trump is against abortion. No, he's not. No, he is not. This is all bullshit. Both of these men, that's okay. This is why when Trump was in power for the 4 years, abortion was not made illegal by executive order. Because he's not against it. It's just a talking point they use to manage perception and get a little bit of a rivalry going on. But when you look at it, the bones of it, look, it says, abortion is one of the issues that drives voters' decisions in the blah, 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 blah. You had the whole overturning of Roe versus Wade, which didn't outlaw abortion, right? It just means that each state can vote on abortion independently, which we know how that will go. Going into the 2024 election, the 2 presidential nominees, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, have talked about their views and the stance of abortion and what the future might hold for abortion access, blah, 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 blah. And they're making this into a big thing. Oh, vote for Kamala, women's rights, abortion rights. This is all bullshit. Because it doesn't matter. First of all, your vote doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who you vote for. Like, just first and foremost, because your vote doesn't count. They do the numbers on whoever they want to be. Secondly, neither of these people are against abortion. Neither of them are against LGBT. Those things are on the agenda. Neither of these represent righteousness, all right? It's just a perception. Democrats are hoping the issue of abortion access will galvanize voters to elect Harris, while Republicans have sought to frame the issue as one best left to the states. So they're not even trying to outlaw it throughout the whole country. This is bullshit. While facing questions about whether a federal abortion ban would be on the table, no, it's not. He would never do that if former President Trump is elected. This is Donald Trump's stance on abortion. Trump has throughout the campaign had shifting views, right? Confusion, right? On abortion, frustrating social conservatives and anti-abortion rights groups that are pushing for a nationwide ban. Yeah, that's not going to happen. The Republican nominee has repeatedly taken credit for the Supreme Court reversal of Roe versus Wade in June 2022, which he wasn't in power when that happened, and touted that 3 of the justices he appointed to the High Court voted to unwind the constitutional right to abortion. This is all smoke and mirrors, because you can still get an abortion. It's not illegal. And he has said that the court's landmark decision means the issue is now left up to voters in the states. My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint. The states will determine by vote or legislation, or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land, he said in a video posted on social media. Trump has stopped short of backing a federal abortion ban, but said during a March radio interview that people are agreeing on 15, I suppose 15 means weeks, and I'm thinking in terms of that. So the whole time they've been making it, the media been, oh yeah, Trump, yeah, vote for Harris because Trump does it. Man, it's all bullshit, man. It's all bullshit. Both of these men are Satan. So who's vocab voting for? Which one of these two Christians is vocab voting for in this Christian country? And that's why we got to get the hell out of here. We got to get the hell out of here because none of these political parties represent Yahweh Shai, and none of them ever will. This is Satan's kingdom. So when you invest in yourself and joining yourself onto this kingdom, you're joining yourself onto Satan. All right. Hebrews 13 and 14 says, for here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. And the city to come is going to be under righteous rulership. This ain't righteous rulership, man. Who the hell are you going to pick between these two demons, man? Like, please, man. Stop it. All right. Let's get Second Peter's, man. That's why we want to get out of here. Not trying to. We want to get out of here. We want this to be over because there's nothing good here. Neither is there anything good to choose from. Right? Second Peter's. Let's get straight from the point. What am I doing this now? Salakia. Yeah. Second Peter's 3rd chapter. This is what we want, man. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Right? That's America being the Sodom and Egypt being destroyed. Babylon the Great being destroyed, man. Because that's what needs to happen. About save America, make it great again. America's always been great in wickedness, man, and it's getting greater. It needs to be destroyed. Right? And the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, the Republicans, the Democrats, the whole political system, right? Seeing then that all these things should be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, right? You can't be in holy conversation and godliness and be invested in this foolishness, right? Looking for and hasting to the coming of the day of God. You can't be talking about making America great again and at the same time be looking for and hasting for the coming of the Most High Son. Because guess what? His coming is set up with the destruction of America. So if you're trying to make America great again, or you trying to save America, then that means you trying to stop the coming of Yahweh Shai. But these goofy Christians don't know that because they're anti-Christians. They don't know the scriptures, they don't know the prophecies, because the spirit isn't dealing with them. People like Vocab Malone. If Vocab Malone should be standing up against all this child sexual abuse, against all these witches and these warlocks and these Satanists in his own country. But here it is, he's dedicating all his time to fighting against the Hebrew Israelites, and all we're doing is teaching the truth of the scriptures. Something that his people ain't been doing. And that's why his society is going down the shitter. Ain't got no morals. Because you were not purveyors of the light. If you were of the light, your country wouldn't be the way it is. If Christianity had it all going on, then a Christian country wouldn't be like America. But they never had the light. They didn't have the truth. Didn't have the spirit. And you see what? You see the fruits. By their fruits you shall know them. And this man's searching hard to find a fault in us, man. Looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for a new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. Because righteousness don't dwell here. But, the Trump supporters, they think Trump is righteous. And then the Harris supporters think that Harris is righteous, man. These people are demons, man. To hell with all of them, especially the Republicans, because they're the number one hypocrites. They're these conservative Christians. They're the number one hypocrites, man. Because they actually think they believe in the Bible. You don't believe in the Bible. You're demons, man. The hell out of here, man. All right. So if that, I'm gonna say shalom.